in a week's time. Talia and Gwen going to be banned away here by EDG, though, as they are going to focus on the kind of most played picks for the time being.
Yeah, and interesting, heavy bans towards the mid lane from FPX. So Wukong is still available. We still have the Lucian available. That's why I kind of feel it's weird not banning Lucian as your first pick on red side, because like you're gonna ban Lucian, right? That's the assumption. Everyone's banning Lucian. We saw in MSI it was banned from Rumble stage onwards. So by leaving it for that third ban, it just means you can't really react as much. At least that's my thought process. Maybe FPX don't ban it. I guess that would be something to see if they didn't. For now, though, Swain banned away as well. Another mid laner denied away. 2 for 2. 2 on each side, sorry, in terms of mid lane bans. So the pool thinned quite a bit.
I am curious to see if FPX didn't ban Lucian, if that's something EDG would just instantly first pick. You know, not a pick that we necessarily know Viper for in of himself, like as a signature pick, but he's certainly a competent AD carry. The Lucian is left open. It's been banned every single game so far. They split, which is a total of 4 games. We'll see if EDG are willing to pick that one up.
I feel like you have to. It's also a flex. I think that's a big thing to remember. We're typically seeing a bot lane, especially paired with a Nami, but it is still a flex in theory, so it can work in other lanes if the matchup is correct, which means it is a powerful first pick. They will lock that in. And my question is, what have FPX got prepared in return? You don't leave Lucian open on this patch without having a plan in place, so I guess we'll get to see how they pull it out. And they're going to start off with the Kalista again. Obviously, matchup is a bit different now. Maybe wanting to find those all-ins. Now, for EDG, if they are going to lock the Nami, it needs to be in this rotation. Could also answer that Viego pick with the Lee Sin for JJ if they want to give him that again, which after that first game, I think that's completely understandable.
Yeah, we'll see what EDG have up their sleeves. You can just go for your jungler here to buy more time to decide whether you want to go for the Nami or just go for it straight off of the bat. Looks like that will be the decision in the end. The Lucian Nami comes on through, one of the duos we were talking about coming into the split, hoping to see this sheer bot lane dominance, and Viper and Mako certainly a pair that can pilot it.
Yeah, and we'll see if they do end up going for that jungle pick here. They could also go for the Ahri in this situation if they wanted for Scout. Obviously had a fantastic game before on it, and a lot of mid lanes already banned, means you have a bit of an easier time taking it here. Actually, potentially looking at this GP that FPX banned away before and will lock that one is definitely high prior on the patch. Clearly a lot of trust in Flounder in this pick. And we will see on the other side, the Kalista Renata come out for LWX and Hung. A really strong lane on this patch and a good matchup into the Lucian Nami. This is what I've heard about in scrims, has been picked as an answer to it. So clearly this was the plan for FPX. Leave the Lucian Nami open and then answer with this duo.
Stake, known for his drafting and sometimes known for the wrong side of his drafting, but clearly coming in with a plan here up against the side of EDG, the Kalista, and that Renata. The Lee Sin banned away from JJ as well, with Clid already having that Viego. Feels like FPX can find themselves a really positive matchup. The Wukong's gone, the Lee Sin is gone. I'm really curious what they can force JJ onto. Maybe something like a Volibear ends up being the decision.
Yeah, I feel like the Volibear's fallen off quite a bit. I mean, like on one side, you can now disable the towers, which is a lot of value. But on the other side, like Volibear just falls off so hard, even before the durability changes. They will ban away that Azir again. I feel like for FPX, this could be an Ahri on this 4th pick coming out. If they felt confident in that one. There are still picks that can potentially like match up into it, but usually Ahri does a pretty good job of like just chilling against the counters and not getting punished too heavily. We'll see if EDG opt to ban that themselves, or if they opt to ban something else that they feel like Scout might have trouble with. They actually banned the Ahri, so seeing that one potentially coming. And now for Care, he's in a position where he has to find a mid lane pick here. They absolutely want to leave top lane for counter pick. Actually, no, sorry, they already have the Gangplank locked in, so they could take top lane here, knowing the matchup. They kind of have flexibility in that regard.
They certainly do, and we'll see where Care's going to go in this mid lane for the side of FPX. It will be the Zoe locked in the end. So Scout has his pick of the litter on what he wants to go for in that mid lane matchup, with the GP being that blind pick up for top side. To be honest, it wouldn't have been too surprising to see the top laner locked in for FPX, since you already know you're up against the GP.
Yeah, I think they're leaving it till the end so they know what jungler EDG has, because one thing is like into GP, some of the counter matchups, like you want to play aggressively into him. You either want to outrange him or play aggressively, but like knowing the jungle can make a lot of difference in terms of like, am I going to be comfortable playing this matchup, or am I going to have this guy sitting on me the entire game? Zoe, pretty safe blind to take out here, and it will be matched by Scout's Orianna. Definitely a strong pick for him, but not something that is too threatening in the 1v1 matchup. We'll see what JJ opts to go for here. Depends whether he wants to have more of an impact in the early game, or the Graves would definitely allow him just to farm up and be relevant later on. It looks like they're going to go for it. So something we saw quite a bit at MSI with the Umbral Glaive rush did kind of fall off later in the tournament, didn't have as much priority, but with the pool being pinched here, JJ will take it.
Yeah, so very fast clearing jungler, a lot of prowess in terms of just controlling the map here. And a lot of scaling on the side of EDG, whereas FPX need to lock in their final pick. It's a Fiora up in that top side. Fiora versus GP. Now that is an exciting matchup.
That is, and it's something that can really be a menace in the later stages of the game. All that percentage HP true damage, Fiora was a big beneficiary of the durability changes because she doesn't care how tanky anyone is. If late in the game, the 4 vitals will kill you. It does not matter how tanky you are. That's just how it works. And ultimately, seeing the Graves come out, you know it's not like a heavy ganker. It's not a champion who's just going to be able to chain gank you and make your life hell. So they lock in that Fiora and feel comfortable to go for it. Does give them a little bit of a weaker team fight as a result. But ultimately, if they can get the Fiora rolling, shouldn't really matter too much.
Yeah, we'll have to see if they're going to be able to get that win condition going for themselves. But the Fiora, if left alone, like you say, will take over the game. Flandre on this gangplank will have his work cut out for him. But I'm going to be honest, Dan, I'm looking towards that bottom lane. Viper and Mako on Lucian Nami. Like, that is a terrifying prospect to have to go into the lane against. LWX and Hung are going to have their work cut out. They really are going to have to pull out a blinder. Even though they have a positive matchup, I feel like it's one of these things where it's a positive matchup, but you have to play well to pull it off. Like, Renata is one of these champions where you misplay slightly, you misposition slightly, you're gone. You have no HP to work with.
Yeah, and it really comes down to execution, because one of the things with Lucian Nami is they have long cooldowns, right? If you dash in on Lucian, blow your combo, you will chunk someone, but you won't kill them, right? Because most of Nami's damage is assisting yours, right? With the E, Bubble is very hard to hit on a Kalista. It's just not really going to connect. So if someone is full HP and you dash in on them, the Kalista will be able to drop Ren stacks onto you, will exhaust you, and they will be able to turn it around. So the way they want to play the lane is EDG's bot lane wants short trades. You want snappy trades where you win because you have sustain and you are very bursty. But the second Viper ends up overcommitting, that is when the Ren stacks come in. That is when the handshake can drag you back into the fight. You have a long cooldown on your dash in the early game. And ultimately, in the extended trade, that is where FPX bot lane will win, which is why this counter matchup is played that way. So I think a lot of the laning will be around Viper not dashing forwards, dashing at an angle to make sure he's not getting too close, and also picking his windows, trading and not allowing them to stack up spears onto him.
The other side as well is being able to find small trades, right? Because you have the sustain. You've got an army in your lane.
Yep.
Kalista and Renata, before Kalista has a Vamp Scepter, basically have no sustain whatsoever. So potential to find advantages if you can go for these repeated small burst trades like you're talking about and get out without the all-in coming out from the side of FPX. But we'll see how the 2v2 is going to pan out. And, you know, the observer's looking at the 2v2 as well, because we all know that this is where everyone's eyes are going to be. Hung and LWX starting very aggressively in the lane here. We'll be able to find the minion advantage to start off.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing as well as the Lucian level 1, nowhere near as potent as the Kalista. And looks like a rough start already.
And an exhaust going to be burn traded for the ignite, but that definitely favors the side of FPX as Shallow and Flandre sparring in the top side as well. But nothing too much will come of that one thanks to the corrupting potion. And Flandre actually getting his grasp off as well. Feels like a good start actually for Flandre.
Yeah, trading quite well. And remember, a big aspect of why GP came back in the meta is a lot of people already felt like he was decently strong, but they buffed the damage on his passive by a significant amount. It is really painful if he manages to connect, and obviously gets the full prowess of grasp.
Hang on, level 1 in the bottom side. Viper gonna be exhausted. LWX trying to make the dive happen. The bailout is there. LWX survives, keeps on going against Mako. Doesn't quite have the damage to pull it off in the end. JJ here to answer, but Cleared is there to stop the play. Saves Hung's life. All in all, it's a 1-for-1.
Yeah, and you know, we talked about the scariness of dives. Hung does not care about the scariness of dives. Also, there is something to note. The buff to tower damage isn't that much in the early game. Sorry, not in the early game. Like this early in the game. It ramps up, but it maxes out at about 1330. At 1330, it's about 40%. At this point of the game, it's about 10-15%. So as much as we've hyped up the towers, if you don't take many tower shots, and it's this early in the game, it's not really too changed from before. And ultimately, the W from Renata, the big difference maker, allows LWX to finish off the kill. That is the power of the Calista. You essentially just disrespect the damage coming towards you, get out of friend stacks and get the kill. And as much as it's a traded kill, Mako's the one who picks up the gold. And ultimately, Viper missed a lot of farm there as well.
Yeah, he certainly did. That's the crucial thing. Viper has managed to get back into the lane, even that CS up a little bit, but I believe he's pushing towards LWX, so he should find a small advantage. Elsewhere on the map, though, Xiaolahu finding a big CS lead in the top lane as well, so all things going very well for FPX to start us off here, as Cleared moving down. We'll just drop a ward onto the Crooks. I wasn't sure if he was going to try and make a play onto this bottom lane, who are pretty extended.
And you know, we saw Cleared heading down to the bot lane to cover Hung when he was backing away. Aggressive bot lane that you're playing around, great. Top lane who's going to scale up in the matchup, that's something we highlighted they didn't have before. Didn't have a scaling lane they could lean on later with a win con there. And then ultimately the mid jungle should be able to contest in these matchups. So I think the draft win con is there, and we're starting to see it come into fruition for FPX. Already, LWX and Hung are zoning away the enemy bot lane on the wave and making things difficult, trying to freeze it in front of the tower so they're not in the most comfortable spot.
Yeah, a bit of a tough one here for the side of EDG, and we'll have to see what they can do, because quite often, across the course of last year, it felt like the advantages that EDG were getting in their games were lane advantages that they then turned into a win, right? And it feels like if you're not ahead in lanes, where does EDG go next? That was one of the big questions, one of the big issues EDG had in spring. So I am curious to see if FPX can exploit that weakness in this game.
And I think there's definitely still other teamfight potential for EDG, even if they do start to struggle, like Shockwave, barrel combos, the burst potential of Lucian Nami. That's one thing to note, is like Lucian Nami wants to be ahead of the curve, but the one-item spikes are really severe regardless, with Gale Force, and Scout should be out on this one. Yeah, once you get Gale Force on Lucian and Nami has like Mandate, you can just hover around mid, and anyone who walks up to contest the wave, you can just dash on them and 100-0 them.
Oh.
Like, even there, like, that's what I mean. Short trade, still so threatening to go near that Lucian.
And that's the thing, with Nami's Tidecaller's Blessing on you, all you need is one ability and one double auto, and you proc Nami's Electrocute. And it's just such ridiculous damage. Flint trying to make a play on the bottom side, though. Neither player has flash available. Mako will be the target, and he will go down. The reset there for Flint as well. This should guarantee the Drake for the side of FPX. Then again, Care does have to reset, so maybe there's some contest available, but I don't think so.
I think they're still confident here. Ultimately, Care does get chunked out by the Shockwave, but doesn't have to burn the Summoner to get out. I think he was trying to posture to move down in case the bot lane needed it. But another positive play in Clid. I said he was pretty invisible in that game one. So much more present and playing towards his bot lane. No longer is he split between, oh, do I want to stop the Kale scaling or deal the Senna Tom? He's able to answer the bot side. And ultimately, the big difference between Senna Tom and this Lucian Nami is the safety, right? If you get on top of the Nami, she will just die. It's not a beefcake like the Tom. And also, the Senna at least has all the tools Tom has to keep her safe. And that isn't available. Lucian's not going to be able to help you out when you get hit by that stun.
Yeah, he really is not. Can return a little bit of damage, but like you say, the burst is very often not enough to just 100-0 someone until you've got things like the Gale Force coming into the mix. So very nicely done so far by LWX and Hung to find these advantages, and Clid to move in and make sure that his bot lane is ahead. This is the thing about Kalista. We keep on talking about it today because we keep on seeing Kalista's coming on through, but if you can't get ahead early, Kalista feels like a completely useless pick in a lot of situations, but so far, LWX 2 kills on the board already. Big CS lead as well. I think he's like 20 CS up. This is a phenomenal start for FPX and a very confident performance after what was a very lackluster game number one.
And a big thing as well is that it's quite a short-range comp for the side of EDG, right? Orianna probably the highest range, and as far as mages go, she's not that high range. Kalista thrives in situations like that, and on top of that, the Renata as well. This is like the ultimate kite back combo. Like we saw a bit more in spring, like it was Renata, Aphelios, which we even saw earlier today, who were great at kiting back. But if Kallista's jumping backwards and you can't kill her because of the W. And then on top of that, Renata is just fantastic with her ultimate to mean if you're short range, if you're trying to funnel in, you're trying to kill this Fed Kallista, you will have such a hard time. So really should shape up well into those team fights as well.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Apparently, JJ and Mako are having another in-game issue, so I assume it's a similar thing. Hopefully, we'll be able to get it resolved and get back into the game once again for you guys. So EDG, unfortunately, not having a great time of it in terms of the tech right now, but also in terms of game number 2, they're not having a great time of it either. So we'll have to see. We need JJ and Scout, I think, to be their saviors in this game, but I don't know if that's really going to happen because Orianna Graves is not exactly this killer 2v2 that you think of.
And it makes me like, we saw the Fiora picked 5 pick, and there was, we talked about this in draft, how leaving the top laner to last, even though you saw the enemy top laner. Yeah. And this Graves, I don't think was the pick, because now you have a situation where you're not applying that much gang pressure. Even though the shockwave was used on a Care, he didn't have to bin flash and you got away. Fiora has been fine, just pushing up the wave, hasn't really been punished. So, maybe we will see JJ come in huge later in the game on this pick, being able to farm up and be really relevant. But for now, isn't really assisting in what the team needs. And was even, there in that bot lane play. But, I mean, to be fair, I don't think many junglers would have been able to contribute much there. But level 2 Graves, when you're getting tower dove by a Renata Kallista, probably not the champion you want to show up. I feel like a Lee Sin would have been, something definitely more impactful. But obviously was banned away. Wasn't an option for them.
I'd say, dare I say it, even Volibear would have been a better pick for that situation specifically. I'm not saying in general, but for that one scenario, get a bit of CC down there, a little bit of lightning. I love a bit of lightning.
Yeah, I guess. Rammus would have honestly been better there. Yeah. Rolling and Taunt. Why not, But obviously not probably going to get played. At least I hope not.
According to u.gg, Rammus has a very good win rate right now in solo queue. So, that's the thing.
Look, I know sometimes these games do look a little bit crazy, Munch, especially that Game 2 in the Weibo series, but this is not solo queue. Got to distinguish the difference.
Okay, what is the difference? Tell me. Explain to me in simple terms. ELI 5. What's the difference between solo queue and competitive?
Well, we're back into the game, so I don't have to answer that question.
You get away with it this time. But I'll be back. I'll be back and stronger. Vlandre finally going to be able to shove this wave under. You can see he was even in CS, but that is at least 2 waves crashing right there. So Xiaolahu will find himself an advantage off of this one as Mako desperately tries to find some vision control. We were just discussing whether or not FPX will be able to go for this Drake. And with Care back in that mid lane, they're more than happy to. So Kled will be able to get the first Drake off the game. And when you look across the board, it's looking pretty tasty for FPX, right? 1,000 gold lead there. A lot of that in the pocket of LWX as well.
Yeah, and it's exactly who you want to have the goal. 2 kills in pocket. Obviously did die in a tower, but it's not an issue. Managed to build up the CS lead. And the wave's been honestly positioned here quite consistently. They've had really good wave management, just forcing an uncomfortable spot for Hyper Mako. And the problem is, once LWX starts stacking up Bren stacks and starts dashing on you, very hard to stopping from doing so other than Viper dashing away. I'm going to say the bubble is basically useless from Nami. It's so hard to connect onto a Kallista unless LWX makes a big mechanical mistake, which he isn't really known for. Just doesn't work effectively.
And it feels like as well, you can get it onto Renata, but ultimately, if you're getting the bubble on Renata, well, Kallista's just going to kill it. You can't really afford to use... Like you said, there isn't consistent damage on Lucian Nami. You need that burst damage. So if you're hitting it onto Renata, Kallista is just going to take over in the meantime. So big wave pushed in the bottom side as well. So EDG going to be able to clear that up. But 20 CS down there. The one positive is Scout at least does have a big CS lead in the mid lane. But the question, once again, is going to be, is that going to be enough? I don't think so. 10 CS? We need more than that.
Yeah, and you can see JJ moving down, trying to help establish a vision control, trying to give them as much space as possible. But in the meantime, FPX will respond by taking that Herald. So a massive win, ultimately, for the side of FPX. All the bot lane FPX have to do is not die. And now, this is when things get really difficult, because one of the vulnerabilities we were talking about before is the fact that the Renata is that immobile enchanter who can be bursted out. Well, now you have the Callista ultimate, so you have that massive safety net. You have the Renata W to use on the Callista, you have the Callista ult to use on the Renata. Neither target is an easy kill target anymore, and as a result, you know, they do get to push in and they do get to control the lane a little bit, but now FPX are looking.
Mako, the target, hand shook back in and just gets rinsed down. LWX happy to take the kill there. And, you know, health bar's low for FPX, but that doesn't matter if you can't finish those kills off. Very nicely done. And another kill into the pocket of LWX. 3-1 on the Callista. 20 CS lead. It's just getting better and better. Look at that gold lead. 1,500 in LWX's favor.
Yeah, it is humongous at this point. So FPX really delivering on this one, doing exactly what they need to do. And I like that they drafted these win cons and they're going for it. And they didn't get put off by the fact that game one, Hung was trying to be aggressive and it just didn't really work. But just a really excellent play there coming out from LWX and Hung.
Yeah, 9-minute shield bow. That is a tough one to deal with. But a shockwave. Oh, the flash from Care dodges the bubble. Will still get knocked up by the tidal wave. Is there any follow-up? Scout low on mana, actually flashes to try and finish the kill, but Ker's still alive. Mako gets the kill in the end, but Cleared should answer. Finishing that one off, getting a reset, and will be able to crash this wave as well. Bad news for the side of Scout.
Even when it feels like a winning play for EDG, they manage to find the pick. It just takes so long, and it's a turn around by Clade. Clade's so much better in this game, still has the Herald in pocket. At the end of the day, it's a 1-for-1 trade. FPX can be more than happy with that situation. They'll continue to push in the bot lane and keep applying that pressure.
They certainly will. LWX crashing in the bottom side as well as the TP comes through from Scout. Back to that mid lane. Viper desperate to clear the wave underneath the tower, but receiving so much pressure. A plate taken by LWX as well. It's only 1,000 gold lead in total in favor of FPX. You would expect it to be bigger, honestly. I was expecting it to be larger, but I suppose you do have the extra gold coming in from Flandre on the gangplank. Has that gold generation passive. You've got a good CS lead for Scout as well. And now JJ, with an Umbral Glaive finished, can start to exact a bit of pressure onto the map.
Yeah, I feel like the big thing is there's a massive lead in AD carry role, but there's kind of like decent leads everywhere else. And the fact that Mako has 2 kills as well is kind of deceptive. Ultimately, as to how much like gold everyone has. Obviously, I mean, actually, I'm gonna say it right. You know, people often talk about kills being wasted on supports. I actually feel like getting kills on the Nami is pretty nice early. Obviously, you'd rather on the Lucian, but the sooner this Nami gets the mandate, the scarier this combo is going to be. Because Gale Force mandate, I mean, typically Lucian can often in competitive games, because we often see supports roaming more and getting less gold, Lucian will have like 2 items finished when Nami finishes the first. But that spike is just what you're really looking for. When you have Gale Force, when you have Imperial Mandate, you can just dash on anyone and just 100-0 them with the culling and the extra burst damage that Nami adds.
Yeah, we'll see if they ever get that opportunity, though. Against a shield bow as well, it does make life more difficult. Another shockwave there from Scout. Care caught up by the Cannon Barrage, but yeah, can't really do anything because of that bubble, like you say, Scout CC'd in place. Now Drake back up onto the map once again. Clid wants to be the man to take it. Has that Rift Herald to work with as well as Mako found in the jungle. Good flash from Mako. Keeps himself safe from Clid. But ultimately, I don't think it matters too much because LWX and Hung can shove this in. Clid has the Herald. And this might just be a Drake as well as a few plates in the bottom side.
You can see JJ moving down, but his bot lane feel really in a precarious position. Culling also came out from Viper, so it doesn't have that one available. They won't get the full tower, but they will get a bunch of plates, and now moving over towards that dragon. TP in from Care to offer support. I think EDG have to give this one up.
Yeah, I think you might be right on that one. 2 Drakes on the trot here for FPX. And a nice little lead to boot as well. 2,000 in their favor. And it's a fairly slow and steady start, but certainly a good one and a needed one after game number 1. Remember, it didn't even look close in game number 1. EDG handedly destroying FPX to start our series off here, but now FPX answering in kind, showing that it's not just a difference in teams, it's a difference in the way that that game was played. So really good to see FPX actually showing us what they're made of, especially after changing their roster a little bit, bringing, you know, Care in as their main mid laner towards the end of spring. Xiaolahu as well, having a good performance on this Fiora. Feels a little bit more like what we wanted to see out of this team.
Yeah, and I gotta give some praise to Xiaolahu because game 1, getting solo killed by a Kayle as Camille, not exactly ideal by any means, but has the CS lead now, decent performance. It's not like groundbreaking, but good to bounce back from that and able to scale up into that relevant carry. Also can note that he had a Cole and has fully stacked it, so is now pretty significantly ahead of gold compared to Flandre. And bear in mind, Flandre will also get free gold by being Gangplank.
Yep. And just quick note here, worth mentioning, Gale Force and Mandate both just finished off
there we go.
by the bottom lane for Viper and Mako. So yes, they are massively behind. Do not be deceived. They can still one-shot someone at this point. LWX does have exhaust though, so you've got to be keeping your eyes on LWX. How fast his fingers are on getting that exhaust on Viper if it's a 2v2.
Problem is sometimes like they jump into you, they burst you, and then like even if you exhaust instantly, like you've already taken a ton of damage, and then they just cull you over the rest of it. It's really painful. But what I'll say is like Mako even hasn't picked up boots, right? We have to see boots such an instrumental thing to pick up early on supports, and I actually think this is a correct call. Foregoing them so you hit that spike sooner, making sure you match one item spike with your AD carry. Obviously, the 2 kills wasn't really an intentional aspect of that, but now they are a threat. And if FPX, if anyone oversteps, they can just burst them out in such a quick fashion. Still have to be a bit concerned about the bot lane. As you said, the exhaust is there. They have the W from Renata, the ult from Callisto, which can buy a lot of time, but definitely a threat if someone is out of position.
Partly as well, I'm just excited because I just want to see Viper do crazy mechanical things on Lucian. Like, I'm excited for later in this game. I hope we're at a fairly even place in the mid game, so we get some good team fights. We get to see Viper showing his stuff on this Lucian. Herald going to be contested here. 2k remaining.
Moving up.
Really want to go for this one. Shockwave available for Scout as it will go wide onto Care. Not ideal. JJ will walk away with his life, but that's going to be the ultimate used by both JJ and Scout. And it will be the Herald picked up by Clid.
Yeah, so not quite able to maintain the pressure. You saw EDG moving the bot up, trying to contest, but not able to find the way in and still have to be respectful of that goal difference. Big thing to note will be the Soul in 2 minutes. It's going to be an Ocean Soul. FPX, if they pick that one up, they'll have 3 dragons. I will say I don't think the Ocean Soul is the most relevant here. Ultimately, a lot of squishy champions. So tends to be if you're going to kill someone, they will just die. They won't get a chance to use the healing. But now they're looking for Flandre. Speaking
of killing someone and they die, Flandre's in trouble. Flash is good in the top side. Shallahu tanking the tower here, but it doesn't matter. He's able to survive, and Clid barely getting out with his life as well. The Herald will go down in the top side. Shallahu will happily finish this tower off alongside that Herald. Very nicely done, and Clid doing a really good job of making sure to find use of the Heralds. Quite often what we see from teams lower down in the standings is the Herald not really finding that much use, whereas FPX really showing that they can use it effectively.
Yeah, good window, and importantly, what Shallahu did really well there is he didn't retake aggro until he was ready to hit the last vital of Flandre. So Clid took aggro initially, took a ton of damage. You can see how scary the towers are, but then he got out of range, let it drop. Shallahu only picked it up to finish off the kill, and so it was a very cleanly done dive, which is kind of what we hinted at the start of the day, is the fact that like if you play these dives cleanly, they will still work. It's just harder and there's less of a window. I think a big aspect is you also don't have any CC from Gangplank to make this more difficult.
Yeah. And like you say there, Shallahu just waiting until he put that vital. Very nicely done. By the man in the top side on this Fiora as well, finding a good opportunity to go for an aggressive pick where he can make things happen and showing that he has the capability to do so when given that space in the top side. So really good stuff. And again, there's a lot of new players in the LPL that have joined over the last year or two. Oh, big damage onto Care there. It's going to be a culling, but Viper doesn't quite have the range vision.
Yeah, I mean, didn't want to dive on a tower because obviously Flash still available for Care and also would just be super risky. But does end up burning the culling before the fight. And honestly, culling can be such a powerful tool in team fights just because of the range it adds to Lucian. It's one of Lucian's weakness. He is short ranged. But if you can lay down that ultimate, it allows you to operate at a higher range. Now FPX are posturing for this. Both top laners do have TP.
This is the third Drake as well. This will be sole point for FPX if they're able to get it. 4,000 gold in their favor, and that's a great little bubble onto JJ. Care can't quite follow up and actually takes a lot of damage in return for jumping forwards on that portal. Drake will reset as Flandre TPs into the play. You can see
Shallahu.
Right. Shallahu, my screen is so pixelated. I'm actually really struggling here.
Okay,
Shallahu. 2,500 on the dragon. The Shala, who actually exhausted, chased away by Viper. The tidal wave will not land though, and that's the vitals being Brook Shala, who finding the kill onto Mako. That was absurd, and the Drake taken by FPX.
Really nice play coming out from the Fiora there. Oh, looking for a bit more.
Scout takes a big chunk and exhaust onto him as well, but they'll walk away. It's 1-for-1, but I mean, Shala, who's star of the show right there.
Absolutely. I mean, the bulky Fiora, and kind of as we said, Lucianami, they burn all their cooldowns, and they're just left to auto-attacking this Fiora down. Mako ends up getting popped as a result, and Fiora able to pick up another kill. FPX also taking that dragon. And honestly, you know, I said Ocean Soul, maybe not the most impactful thing, can be pretty frustrating to deal with on a Fiora, someone who's already a menace to kill. You can see so much burst damage coming out initially here, and then Viper does just end up like pumping autos into the Fiora. There's not really much else you can do without your cooldowns on the Lucian, and now, whoop, goodbye.
Mako is not having a fun time of it. Great flash from Care, beautifully done. And the EDG bottom lane being found out by FPX. This is gorgeous gameplay. Shala, who that Chinese Fiora that we're all so afraid of, and then Care following up to show that it's not just one of the solo lanes.
I mean, just such good play, and especially I was honestly kind of down on that game one. Shala, who's someone who we talked up since he debuted when he was covering in for Nuguri in last summer, had his whole split to himself and had some positive showings. That game one was rough, but this game really bounced back, found some windows, and Care delivering there in that team fight and showing that these two rookies have been such a stellar piece of this new FPX. They are really the ones we're looking to step up and fill those shoes that were left before them.
Yeah, and so far, so good in this game number 2. Still a lot of work to be done. I don't want to draw too many conclusions like we did with the EDG in game number 1 here. But maybe FPX will win Worlds as well. You know, we could have 2 Worlds winners. For the first time ever, that would be something special. So Viper just about dodges away the bubble. And it's Baron on the cards here. And if you remember Spring, FPX had a bit of a habit. For the split second Baron was on the map, they would flip it. They would go for it. They were in love with the Baron buff. Let's see if that trend will continue. We're beyond the 20-minute mark now.
Yeah, I mean, I think my main criticism was the setup wasn't really there for Baron. They would kind of not have any vision or be very, very shallow vision, and then they would just start it. And unsurprisingly, the enemy team would contest them every single time. So hoping they've learned their lessons. There were definitely some better Barons from them later in the split. I do not want to see them have regressed and return to the, oh, let's just start it. That would be pretty painful. We do see 2 items for LWX with that Rage Blade, but also Viper with that Collector coming in second. Super bursty with the extra lethality available. Care, I feel like Care, if we're speaking of burst, is the big threat at the moment. Any bubble connects and it feels like it's just a death sentence if there's follow-up.
Yeah, it certainly does. The only, I guess, silver lining for the side of EDG right now is the fact that at least their composition does scale well, right? You've got a Gangplank at the top side. You do have the Orianna in that mid lane. And it's not like Nami Lucian is a bot lane that falls off massively in the later stages of the game. So I do feel like we need to talk about pacing for the side of FPX right now, because they do have this gold lead. They've got a Drake coming up in 1 minute and 20, but it is crucial in my mind that they do get that Drake.
Yeah, I think getting the Drake really helps them out a lot. As much as I said the sustain isn't really that pertinent because people are just going to get bursted out instantly, even with the durability patch. The durability patch does help to stop them getting bursted, and particularly LWX with the shield bow, the fact that we have Cleared and Shala, who are both fairly bulky, they can definitely get value from it. So EDG are posturing, they do not want to give over the soul. And really, if we can see EDG get those big combos, things like the Shockwave, the Graves ultimate with Lethality doing a ton of damage, the Cannon Barrel.
That's going to be a culling onto Care. Big damage, the Cannon Barrage over the top of it as well. Quite enough to stick, though, unfortunately. This Flandre will just shovel wave in on the bottom side. Does have TP, goes for the reset, and you expect to TP to the top side. I don't know if he can get there in time, actually. I think Shala, who might just murk the tower. And it looks like Flandre not even going to try and TP. I think agreeing on the situation. Fiora is so good at killing towers. In the meantime, EDG trying to threaten this Drake, but it's not up for another 20 seconds.
Yeah, that's the thing, is EDG set up for it early to try and get control. They have control of the area, right? Really good vision setup. But
Flandre's just TP'd in. Shala, who can just take an inhib right here.
Yeah.
EDG, they're going to commit to a Drake, but I don't know if this is worth it.
FPX don't need to contest the Dragon, and now FPX can head straight towards that Baron, and it's going to put EDG in a really uncomfortable position because what you contest, the Fiora or the Baron? Kind of hard to do both.
Yeah, it certainly is. FPX going to go for the Baron, but this FPX Baron is a good one. They're more than happy to sacrifice that Drake. And EDG saying, look, we are going to lose the inhib. We're okay with that. We're going to contest the Baron instead. But Xiaolau, who isn't done, he's going to push in the base in the meantime. Is EDG in a 4v5? They're actually just blasting each other right now thanks to the Renata. And Xiaolau is just going to try and end the game. And FPX, they are toying with their food right now. EDG don't know what to do. This is not the way you expected game number 2 to go. And it is beautiful from FPX. Xiaolau, though, caught out in the base. Finally, an answer from EDG. FPX is going to try and commit to the Baron. I don't know if this is the play, though. 4,000 on the objective. Viper trying to go in. Cleared low on HP here. The Baron is going to look for stuns behind the pit, but the Baron does go down. The stun comes on through, cleared over the wall. And they will get away with it. FPX grab the Baron.
They play it so well. EDG overcommit to shutting down the Soul. They lose so much on the top side. Xiaolau, who gets a lot out of that push. And this is the critical thing that's scaling Fiora in the side lane, a menace that EDG weren't able to deal with. And then the rest of FPX, they literally just teased around the Baron, right? They were just back and forth trying to buy time with it. Now Xiaolau, who does make a little bit of a mistake here, just trying to TP out, and ultimately does get caught by Scout Shockwave here. But at the end of the day, you're not really too upset about this. Yes, the Fiora goes down, but the job is done. The split push was achieved, and FPX, they bought a ton of time until eventually EDG had to send both their mid and top to deal with the Fiora, and they managed to secure the Baron. The only saving grace, I feel like, for FPX is the fact that, I mean, for EDG, sorry, is the fact that Xiaolau doesn't have the Baron, right? Because that would have been really bad.
I mean, it is still really bad, but yeah, you're right. That would have been
really bad.
Yeah, that would have been like, okay, the game's over. Xiaolau, absolutely terrifying. And, you know, obviously, EDG thought that Xiaolau would reset when Flandre TP'd back to that bottom side, but that is a rough mistake to make because now FPX can just continue to hammer away in the side lane. Xiaolau, without the Baron, can still just take these towers away. It's once you get into the base that it becomes difficult for the side of FPX.
And now, I mean, they're just harassing here. The problem is as well into the Zoe, so difficult to contest. That bubble connects. Someone's dead. They will take both of those tier 2 towers, a lot of extra gold to in, and it does get more difficult when we come to the inhibitor towers, especially the Xiaolau, who doesn't have that Baron. See Viper fishing, has to be so careful.
Scout's in trouble. Xiaolau looking for the kill, but will get denied by JJ. Scout surviving for the time being, and looks like he will get out with his life. He does have the advantage of being nearer the fountain as well, so he'll be able to sustain back up. But Xiaolau and Care can't necessarily do the same. But I don't think it matters all too much because they're just going to wander over to that mid lane and finish that tower off. Nice little dodge there by LWX. The tower will fall. Xiaolau pressuring at the bottom side simultaneously as Viper exhausted and denied his opportunity. The mid inhib will fall. And Xiaolau can't quite finish this bot lane tower, but that's 2 inhibs down. And it's not looking pretty for EDG.
And importantly, those 2 inhibs are furthest away from the dragon spawning in a minute 30. Would be solved for FPX. They're already having problems killing Xiaolau. It does not get better. And actually, one of the things is Xiaolau keeps going
Oh, no. Oh, JJ, it's not pretty to see the flash forward from Xiaolau. He didn't realize the whole team was there because he was smoke screened. Viper low on HP. JJ low on HP. Can't finish any kills off, though. Very close one, but they will get a pick in the meantime. The bot lane tower did go down by the rest of FPX, but they can't finish the inhib. A moment of reprieve here for EDG, but the respawn will be up in time for Drake.
Yeah, bit of an overstep. They will have the respawn. The TP should be up, I think, in time. Yeah, it will. So they'll be able to bring Xiaolau in. Right now, EDG, though, the fact that they have a numbers advantage on the map, they want to push out these super waves as far as they can and then move over and try and contest this dragon. Got really difficult if Xiaolau, I guess this, it means Flandre can't really just poke him out. Xiaolau can keep fishing for an all-in, and you know he has been running quite a few times. The Ocean Soul does give you mana regen, which can make a long distance if you're just trying to force waves in the side lane. So EDG, this might be your last hope. Ideally, they find a pick. If Viper can dash on someone and burst them before the fight, that could be the game plan. But Xiaolau is already back on the map.
If FPX manage to get this Drake for themselves, it might just be curtains for the side of EDG, but there are no supers in the bait, so EDG can stick around and contest for a while here. Xiaolahu, no TP available, trying to push that bottom wave out, as the bubble will fade, and it means EDG can start to move forwards once again. They are desperate to contest, but they are 5,000 gold down. We need to see a miracle for EDG. We need to see a shockwave from Scout, barrels from Flandre. But FPX still the ones with the advantage. Oh my days, Hung saved by the bell. LWX using that ultimate to keep his support alive. Bubble comes on through onto Scout. There's a paddle stop, but it doesn't matter. Hung is gone. It's 1-0, but now the soul taken by FPX in the meantime. A support for a soul. You'll take that trade any day of the week. In the meantime, Xiaolahu 1v3ing in the backside of the fight. Flandre forced to flash. Viper is here. Can he carry? He needs to make a miracle happen right now because Xiaolahu is chasing them through the jungle. Viper trying to survive. Flandre getting a bit of move speed. And EDG in all kinds of trouble.
And now Xiaolahu, who's actually going for the end through mid. They're going to have to TP back, but Straggler's going to be left.
FPX just playing to Shepherd right now, stopping the recalls as Clid turns golden, buys himself some time. Viper trying to get some kills. There's one for Flandre. LWX the next target here, but Viper can't get over the wall. Xiaolahu isn't trying to end. He wants more kills. He wants to body EDG one by one. There's another kill for him in the books. Flandre trying to escape with his life. Mako looks for a bubble, but it goes wide again. Mako not having a fun time as he's cut down. And Xiaolahu with the triple kill, having a career performance right here.
This is like a horror movie, seeing this Fiora come onto the flank and just decimate them. It felt like a close fight initially for EDG until the Fiora showed up. Gonna be able to take this top lane inhibitor again. There's a big wave sacked up. It is now on JJ and Scout. They do have the shockwave. Try and make a play.
Yeah, that's not enough. That ain't the 3k elo shockwave that we needed, as it's gonna be the last couple of kills coming on through, and it's going to be the Nexus falling. It's going to be Chinese Fiora from Xiaolahu tearing EDG apart.
Man, I mean, Xiaolahu, after that game 1 getting solo killed by the Kale at level 7, right, to now completely carrying that game, playing it so